water is there somewhere. Welcome everybody to this service today. Whether you are new here for the first time, you come regularly, or this is your second home. A place here, a sacred space, where we can come together in community, where we can worship together. And whoever you are, whatever you do, you are welcome here. So our service this morning is about digging. Yep, you heard it right. It's about digging. So it will include a bit of digging, metaphorically, not physically, whilst being careful not to disturb existing structures. An opportunity to listen and to add a little bit of fertilizer and maybe do some new planting. We begin our service this morning by lighting our chalice. Thank you, Matthew. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition, and also connection to each other. So let's take this moment just to come together in prayer, and we listen to the words by André Moi. As we gather together, may we remember, when you share with me what is most important to you, that is where listening begins. When I show you that I hear you, when I say your life matters, that is where compassion begins. When I open the door to greet you, that is where hospitality begins. When I venture out to bring you shelter, that is where love begins. When I risk my comfort to ease your suffering, when I act against hatred, violence, and injustice, that is where courage begins. When we experience the full presence of each other because of our shared humanity, because of our similarities and our differences, that is where holy gratitude begins. May this space in this sacred church that is not complete until all are welcome. May it be a space of beauty, where together we create a series of miracles, and where all that we share is sacred. May it be so. Before we sing our first hymn together, which is 43 in the purple book, Gathered the Spirit, I just want to let you know that Michael is here from the college with his hand in the air and his pen in hand, and he's not writing about you, he's observing me. So if you see him scribbling, it's me, it's not you. So welcome, we welcome you, Michael, this morning. So let's sing our first hymn together, number 43, Gather the Spirit. For those of you that are new here this morning, I forgot to introduce myself to you, so I'll do that now. My name is Jennifer. I'm the minister-elect at Brighton Unitarian Church, which basically means I've just got the last few months of my studies to do, hence being observed today. Our first reading, and this is about a young name called Ramal. Once in a village in India, there lived a young man named Ramal. He once set to dig a well. He was full of enthusiasm. He selected a good spot and cheerfully set to work, humming a tune. After digging 15 cubits, there was no sign of water. Ramal decided to rest for a while and then continue. Just then, another man came along. He asked Ramal what he had been doing. Ramal replied that even after digging 15 cubits, there was no water. The stranger told Ramal that he knew of a place where one could strike water within minutes. The stranger took Ramal to the spot, and Ramal started digging right away. After digging 15 cubits, you've guessed it, there was no sign of water. So Ramal rested for a while, and just as he was about to start again, another person came along and took Ramal to a spot where he said water would gush out in torrents. Ramal began to dig furiously. After several hours, having dug 30 cubits down, the only water that was gushing out in torrents was his sweat. Though water was scarce, advisors were not. On the advice of another passerby, Ramal sunk 20 more cubits at another spot, but still there was not even a trickle of water. Just then, Payaralali, Ramal's friend, came by and heard the whole story. Ramal was really frustrated. Ramal told his friend that he had sunk 85 cubits altogether. Payaralali said, "If you had sunk those 85 cubits in one place, you would have struck water anywhere in the village, even under a rocky surface. Don't you know we live under a river?" Story of Ramal. We sing again 174, which is in the Green Book, A Church is a Living Fellowship, number 174. Our second reading this morning is the parable of Gala, the anxious puppy dog. In a town far away known as Boston, a girl and her dog moved into a home with the girl's older sister. The dog, named Gala, was an anxious pet, but the owner didn't know why or what came before. Gala was adopted from a shelter. When people saw her on the street, they'd ask, "What is she?" But none of us really knew. Maybe a little terrier, a mutt, a very sweet, anxious mutt. She ate her food too fast, as if afraid that other dogs would steal it from her. She wore herself out, chasing the trains, as if she'd never get another chance to be outside. But most of all, she did a lot of digging. She buried her bones. Anytime someone would give her a bone, she would bury it. Sometimes she would try and bury it in the bathtub, hidden under a bath towel, or wedged between the cushions of the couch. Or sometimes she would happily chew it for a while, and then she would run out into the garden, and all you could see was the earth being thrown up behind her. And then she'd go out later, and she couldn't remember where she buried it. The thing was, it was almost like a light went off in her, when she remembered that someone somewhere, sometime soon, may take the bone away, so she would go and dig a hole in anything so she could bury her bone. It was almost as if she would rather hide it and forgo enjoying the pleasure of sharing it than risk the possibility that someone somewhere might take it. She was so scared that she dug holes to bury her treasure. Shelter dog syndrome, they called it. She was inadvertently trained to believe that there was never enough. So she kept on digging and she kept on burying. Gala, the anxious puppy dog. We'll hear more about her in a wee while. We sing our third hymn this morning, number 35, and it's from the Purple Book, Find a Stillness. So let us come to a time of stillness, an opportunity to reflect for us all on the passing week, to give ourselves the time to be with our thoughts, our questions, our worries, our insecurities, our joys and our triumphs. So take a moment to be comfortable as you are able in your chair. Try with the next couple of breaths to just come into this moment. There is nothing to do now. We take the next few minutes to be in stillness together. Let us listen to these words, an adapted prayer of Shantideva. May we be a guard for those who need protection. And when we seek protection, may we find it and share it. For those who wish to cross to a shore, may we be a boat, a raft, or a bridge. May we be open to the companionship of others as we make our way to places still before us. May we be a lamp in the darkness for all who seek it. May that light be never extinguished from our own sight and our own heart. May we be a resting place for the weary and be healing medicine for all who are sick. Where others witness and experience scarcity, may we provide a vase of plenty. We send our loving prayers to all of those in our community, all of us here today and those who cannot be with us, in the greater movement and in the worldwide fellowship of Unitarianism. We extend these prayers to all living beings. We think of those who are coming to the end of their life. And we send hope for those who are just beginning. We ask for prayers of reconciliation, forgiveness, understanding, and peace in all areas of the world. But especially this week in Northern Ireland for the marching season. We hold most tenderly those with broken hearts. And as we sit together in stillness for a few moments, you may wish to use this time to silently express the prayers that you have. Let us be still together. Thank you, Nicola. So why are we talking about digging, you may ask? Well, this week is National Digging Awareness Week. Guess where I got that from? Actually, you'd think I got it from the internet, but I didn't. I actually got it from my builder, who's about to completely dig my whole garden and hopefully transform it into something better than it already is. And we were talking about digging. I thought, that's a really good idea for a Sunday service. And he said, did you know there is such a thing as National Digging Awareness Week? And I went, no, but I do now. And I said, what is its purpose? He said, well, the purpose is that it promotes safe digging. And it talks about be well prepared before you dig. In other words, don't put a fork in the ground and go through your next door neighbour's garden internet cable, which hopefully he won't do. He assures me that he's not going to do that. So that's where it came from. I'm going to read you something from a woman whose name is Anna Gissing, and she is interested in archaeology. And in 2014, she decided that she needed a break from her normal everyday work, and she decided to go and attend an archaeological dig a few miles from Nazareth in Galilee. She went wanting to learn more about the time of how people lived, and she came back with these 3 essential lessons. Firstly, learn from your Abuna, which is a name for a teacher in Arabic. James Strange was her teacher, and at 77 there was little he didn't know about archaeology. He was one of those leading scholars, but that was completely passionate about everything, and he would be the first to pick up the trowel and the brush and get stuck in. But he was also incredibly enthusiastic, and also, if you didn't know anything about archaeology, he was one of those people who made you feel okay about not knowing. So what she came back with was that we all need an Abuna, somebody that has gone before us, someone that has done the digging before, that can advise us. Someone can share the basics and give us the courage. It's a bit like our spiritual path. We need people to guide us. We need people to give us the tools. And we need a little bit of direction about where to dig. The second lesson that she came back with was called Sweeping the Balks. She talks about leaving at 4:30 in the morning and getting back at 1:30 to try to avoid the heat. Each day began with the same routine: unloading the tools, install the sifters, assemble the shade, canopies for the shade, set up the pottery washing station. And then each person was assigned their 5 metre by 5 metre division of the field. And then came the sweeping of the balks, these 1 metre wide strips that were left unexcavated. They got out their brushes and their dustpans, collecting dirt and dumping it into our waste pile. So what we were doing was digging a little bit of dirt from one place to another. She says when she told her husband about this, he said, "Oh, well, that sounds like chores." Indeed, it was a chore. She says, "I flew halfway round the world to dig and sweep dirt from one place to another. And yet the goal was to remove the loose dirt and pebbles so that they wouldn't fall into the next square and contaminate the evidence. Yes, it was a chore and painstaking and hard work and really slow. Excavation is often tedious and very repetitive. And yet, she observed that if she didn't have this daily routine, they would have lost the most miraculous tiny little fragments of history. It's a bit like daily practice in our spiritual life. Sometimes we want the big, and sometimes we get that, but often we're just sort of waiting for something to happen. And we might see a tiny little glimmer, and that may do us well for the rest of the day, or it might do us well just for that moment, and then we're looking again for something else. But there's something about that practice, that showing up day after day with the right tools. Her third lesson was find God in the sherds. She says she went to Israel to find more about family life. But the thing about excavation is you can't choose what you find. Your job is not to find a particular thing. It's not like Indiana Jones, where you get all the layers of dirt and find the treasure. In fact, archaeology, she says, is not really a treasure hunt. It's a journey of understanding about the past, and it takes patience. And in this patience, she found lots of pottery. She didn't know anything about pottery. She was quite irritated that she found lots of things about pottery. She wanted to find gold coins and silver jewellery, you know, the exciting twinkly things. And yet, as she cleaned these pieces of pottery, she realised what they held, the weight of experience and history of people's lives. The progress was slow. She wasn't there for years and years. She was only there for a few weeks. But in that time, she managed to find a few pieces of pottery that actually fitted together, and you could start to see the bigger picture. She went back to the US and said, "You know, when the feel tedious, and some of that time can feel like a chore. So how do we ensure that we don't miss the tiny fragments of the pottery or those little minute little pieces of gold? You know, when they do that shaky thing looking for gold, and they're so tiny you need like a magnifying glass to see them. And yet they're just as important. Just like the builder, he'll need to build a good foundation. And that's going to take time and preparation. I just want the patio to be built. He's like, no, it's going to take at least 3 weeks. But then it'll be built properly. He'll need to inspect for strength and quality, so it stands up to the storms and the heat and the wind and the rain. And it's the same with our spiritual practice. Are we on good, solid foundation? And of course, the more we seek, the more we see there are things that need to change. There are weak points. Some of us love to sing. Some of us love quiet time. Others don't like it at all and are twitching, waiting for it to finish. So we all have the bits of our spiritual life that we love and we don't love. What I encourage us all to do is to try and embrace the bits that you don't like, embrace the bits of rock in the ground that are a bit tricky. Our relationship with the God of our understanding is not a treasure hunt. I think it's the small voice within that speaks to us just when we're sitting, sifting those tiny little fragments. So before we come to the end of this service today, I'd like us to take a little moment of reflection, gathering up from the soil that we have excavated, being careful to ensure that we don't overlook the seemingly unimportant bits. What are we currently digging? Are we digging for our children, trying to build the very best for them? Are we digging for our marriage or our relationship, clearing away the difficult pieces, cleaning the difficult conversations that we've had? In our digging for our spiritual life, where are we finding the difficulties? And where can we access the tools that we need? And are we needing to just pause and allow what we have dug and planted to grow and to flourish? Amen and blessed. We sing our final hymn this morning, which is a number 11 in the Purple Book, Blessed Spirit of Our Lives. They're exiting to make tea. It's all right. Spiritual digging is for everyone who seeks something different in their life. The world is within us, and if we dig deeper into the present moment, the water will spring forth. There is enough for all. The treasures are there. It's just a question of digging and then sharing. And so it is.